What if the most important message ever sent from Earth was never meant to be read? Right now, drifting silently through the outer edges of our solar system, there's a machine smaller than a car, older than most of us, powered by technology less advanced than a flip phone. It's cold, it's alone, and it's still talking to us. That machine is Voyager 1. Launched in 1977, Voyager 1 has been traveling for nearly 50 years, not just orbiting or circling, but leaving, escaping, breaking free from the gravity of everything we've ever known. It is, at this moment, the farthest human-made object from Earth. A metal speck sailing through an ocean of stars, farther than Pluto, farther than light pollution, farther than memory. And it's still moving, still reporting back, still listening to instructions that take over 22 hours just to reach it. But Voyager 1 isn't just a spacecraft. It's a time capsule, a symbol, a question. Because attached to its side, bolted like a sacred relic, is a golden record, literally. A 12-inch phonograph filled with the sounds of Earth, thunderstorms, laughter, greetings in 55 languages. Music from Bach, Chuck Berry, and Senegalese percussionists. Instructions on how to find us, if they, whoever they are, ever want to. It's not just a collection of sounds. It's a cosmic message in a bottle. One last whisper from the shoreline before the ship disappears beyond the horizon. And here's the wild part. No one knows if it will ever be heard. This is the story of Voyager 1. Not just its launch or its science, but its spirit. How it defied expectations, outlasted its designers, and transformed from a mission into a myth. We'll look back at the roots of the space race, the bold engineering that birthed the twin Voyagers, and the incredible planetary dance that made the mission possible. We'll relive the awe of its first images of Jupiter's storms, Saturn's rings, and the haunting family portrait that captured Earth as a pale blue dot. We'll explore why Voyager still matters, decades later, in an age of short attention spans and instant feedback. And we'll ask, what does it mean to send a message into forever, knowing you might never get a reply? This isn't just about a spacecraft. It's about who we were and who we dared to be. Because long after Earth is gone, after cities fall and languages fade, Voyager 1 will still be out there, still traveling, still listening, still carrying the sound of us. To understand Voyager 1, you have to rewind to a time when the stars weren't just inspiration, they were a destination. It's the mid-20th century. The Cold War is raging. The United States and the Soviet Union are locked in a technological arms race that is as much about symbolism as it is about strategy. And at the heart of it all, above the political rhetoric and below the surface of nuclear anxiety, was a shared human desire to touch the heavens. The space race had already delivered some staggering firsts. Sputnik beeped across Earth's skies in 1957. Yuri Gagarin became the first human in space in 1961. Apollo 11 planted a flag on the moon in 1969. But by the early 1970s, something shifted. Public interest in the moon missions waned. Budgets tightened. The idea of sending humans farther, to Mars or beyond, seemed wildly ambitious and prohibitively expensive. So NASA pivoted. If we couldn't send people to the outer planets, we'd send our best surrogate. A robot explorer, built to last, designed to see what no human eye ever had. But here's where things get truly remarkable. In the early 60s, a young NASA scientist named Michael Minovich discovered something fascinating. that a spacecraft could use the gravity of a planet like a slingshot, speeding up or changing direction without using extra fuel. This idea, called gravity assist or gravitational slingshot, wasn't new in theory, but Minovich proved it could actually be calculated and used practically. Then, another scientist named Gary Flandreau realized that something special was going to happen. Once every 176 years, the outer planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, align in such a way that a spacecraft could visit them all in one epic journey, using gravity assists to hop from planet to planet. And that rare alignment? It was coming in the late 1970s. NASA had a narrow window. If they missed it, the opportunity wouldn't return for another century and a half. So the pressure was on. Out of this urgency and ambition came the Voyager program. Originally, the plan was called the Grand Tour. It would send multiple probes to the outer solar system, but funding issues nearly killed the mission before it even began. Congress was hesitant. Costs were high. So NASA scaled it back. What had once been a sweeping multi-probe project became a pair of spacecraft with a more modest goal: fly by Jupiter and Saturn. Maybe, if everything went perfectly, they'd make it further. Those spacecraft became Voyager 1 and Voyager 2. Voyager 2 was launched first, in August 1977, because its trajectory was slower and longer. Voyager 1 followed in September 1977, taking a faster path that would overtake its twin and reach Jupiter and Saturn first. But behind the technical specs and flight paths was a different kind of vision. Carl Sagan, astronomer, author, and poet of the cosmos, had an idea. What if these spacecraft weren't just scientific tools, but emissaries? What if, knowing they would one day leave our solar system entirely, we sent them carrying a message? A message for who? No one knew. But that was the beauty of it. NASA agreed. A team was formed, led by Sagan, to design a record, not a digital file or data packet, but an actual gold-plated analog phonograph record, etched with the sounds, languages, and music of Earth. It would be a snapshot of who we were as a species in a fleeting moment of time. They included greetings in 55 languages, a message from the Secretary General of the UN, and sounds of nature: rain, wind, whales, a baby crying. They added images, mathematical diagrams, photos of DNA, human anatomy, cities, and animals. And music, from classical masterpieces like Bach and Beethoven to a Navajo night chant and Louis Armstrong's jazz. It took months. The team debated fiercely. How do you represent all of Earth in a single disk? What gets left out? Who decides? And yet, somehow, they created it. A gold record housed in an aluminum cover with symbolic instructions on how to play it. And they bolted it to each Voyager spacecraft, like a letter tucked into the jacket of a wandering traveler. And then, they launched. Each Voyager was powered by 3 plutonium-fueled RTGs, radioisotope thermoelectric generators, which converted heat into electricity. They were built to last just a few years, maybe enough to reach Saturn, if everything held up. What no one expected was what happened next. Voyager 1's instruments were some of the most advanced of their time. It had cameras, magnetometers, plasma detectors, cosmic ray sensors, tools that could observe and measure the vast, invisible forces of space. And as it left Earth behind, as it sailed past the Moon and Mars and into the uncharted outer realms, something happened. People cared, not just scientists, not just engineers. but everyday people. School kids and artists and dreamers and skeptics. They watched the footage. They saw Jupiter's massive storms, Saturn's golden rings. They listened to Sagan explain the pale blue dot. And for a moment, just a moment, humanity looked up, together. Because Voyager wasn't just a machine, it was an extension of us. A creation so fragile and so hopeful, flung into the void in search of something. Not answers, maybe. Just connection. Just perspective. Just proof that we were here. Voyager 1 didn't scream into history with a roar. It coasted quietly, methodically. The second spacecraft in name, but the first to step into the unknown. Its early months in space were a meticulous dance of timing, calibration, and patience. Engineers at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory sent careful commands across the void, each signal taking 19 hours to arrive. Voyager was not remote-controlled in real time. It was anticipated, predicted, hoped for. Like playing chess on the moon through a letter. By January of 1979, Voyager 1 approached its first giant, Jupiter. What it saw changed everything. Jupiter was no longer just a swirling dot in telescopes. It became a world of chaos and majesty. Voyager revealed the planet's storms in astonishing detail, including the Great Red Spot, a hurricane wider than Earth that had been spinning for centuries. But what truly shocked scientists were the planet's moons. Io, for example, was expected to be a frozen rock. Instead, it was alive, covered in volcanoes, geysers of molten sulfur erupting into space. It was the first time active volcanism had been seen beyond Earth. Europa, another of Jupiter's moons, showed signs of a vast subsurface ocean beneath its icy shell, a potential cradle for life. Suddenly, the solar system didn't seem so dead. Voyager wasn't just gathering data. It was rewriting textbooks. In November 1980, Voyager 1 arrived at Saturn, a planet that until then had existed more in paintings than in photographs. What Voyager captured was breathtaking. Not just rings, but ringlets, hundreds of tiny bands and gaps that suggested unseen moons shepherding them, like artists carving in dust. Titan, Saturn's largest moon, was perhaps the most mysterious target. Voyager found it cloaked in a thick orange haze. Instruments hinted at a nitrogen-rich atmosphere and organic compounds, the building blocks of life. No spacecraft had ever seen a moon with an atmosphere like this. Titan wasn't just a frozen satellite. It was a mirror, a possible echo of early Earth. These discoveries weren't just scientific milestones. They were philosophical detonations. The more Voyager saw, the less we understood. The solar system had seemed like a predictable family of rocky planets and gas giants. Now, it looked alive, dynamic, surprising. It was as if a curtain had been pulled back, revealing a universe far stranger than we'd imagined. But something even more incredible was quietly happening in the background. Voyager 1 had completed its primary mission. It had delivered on every promise. Flybies of Jupiter and Saturn, imaging of their moons, and successful transmission of data across unimaginable distances. By all accounts, it could have shut down then and there, and still gone down as one of the greatest space missions of all time. But it didn't. Voyager 1 kept going. Its trajectory, carefully plotted years before, would carry it out of the plane of the solar system. Unlike most other probes, which looped around the sun or fell into orbits, Voyager was on a one-way ticket into interstellar space. NASA, seizing the moment, extended the mission. They called it the Voyager interstellar mission, a poetic name for a practical gamble. Could a machine built in the 70s keep operating for decades longer, in temperatures colder than minus 280 degrees Fahrenheit, with no human hand to repair it? It would have to. Because what lay ahead was nothing less than the edge of everything. As Voyager crossed the orbits of Uranus and Neptune, planets it was never intended to visit, it passed silently by the great frozen giants. Voyager 2 would capture images of those worlds later. But Voyager 1 was now more like a scout in the wilderness, pushing into territory no human machine had ever touched. Its cameras were powered down to conserve energy. There would be no more photographs. From now on, Voyager would listen. It would feel the solar wind, measure cosmic rays, and detect the boundaries between our sun's influence and the vast emptiness beyond. And yet, before it went dark, Voyager 1 took one last photo. At the urging of Carl Sagan and others on the Voyager team, the spacecraft was commanded to turn its cameras backward, to look homeward just once more. The result was a single pixel, a pale blue dot suspended in a beam of sunlight. That was Earth. Carl Sagan later wrote, "Look again at that dot. That's here. That's home. That's us." It was a moment that redefined perspective, not because of what Voyager discovered, but because of what it revealed about us, our smallness, our fragility, our unity. And still, it continued. Years turned into decades. Generations passed. Technology changed. Computers shrank from room-sized machines to handheld devices. The internet was born. Empires rose and fell. But Voyager 1 stayed its course, humming with quiet determination, its radioactive heart still warm, its antennas still listening. And all the while, the world watched, sometimes with celebration, sometimes with forgetfulness. But Voyager didn't care. It wasn't doing this for attention. It was simply going. Voyager's buildup wasn't about explosions or battles. It was about discovery. Quiet, persistent, transformative discovery. And what made it truly miraculous wasn't the sophistication of its tools, but the fact that it was enough, that a machine built by human hands, powered by ancient atoms and launched on a dream, could survive long enough to step across the cosmic threshold. Voyager 1's journey to this point was a triumph of planning, engineering, and sheer audacity. But the real story, the part that made Voyager immortal, was still waiting on the other side of the solar system. There is a boundary in space, invisible, unmarked, but monumental. It's called the heliopause, and crossing it would mean leaving the sun's dominion behind, stepping into the raw blackness between stars. For decades, scientists weren't even sure where this edge was. The sun doesn't just emit light and heat. It blows a constant stream of charged particles called the solar wind. This wind stretches outward in all directions, creating a bubble around our solar system called the heliosphere. Inside it, the sun rules. Beyond it, silence. Interstellar space. No spacecraft had ever reached it. No one knew exactly what would happen if one did. Voyager 1 was approaching that edge. But the journey there wasn't fast or cinematic. It was agonizingly slow, measured in years and fractions of light. Voyager was hurtling through space at 38,000 miles per hour, but in cosmic terms, that's still a crawl. And as the spacecraft moved farther from Earth, its signals took longer to arrive. Nearly 17 hours one way. Each command, each whisper from humanity, had to travel across 12 billion miles of empty space. Then, in 2012, something changed. Voyager's instruments began recording strange patterns. There was a sudden, sharp drop in solar particles, and an equally sharp increase in cosmic rays, high-energy particles from beyond the solar system. One by one, the clues began to stack. On August 25th, 2012, after 35 years of silent flight, Voyager 1 became the first human-made object to cross into interstellar space. It didn't announce it with a message or a photograph. There was no banner waving, no triumphant trumpet. It simply kept sending data. The story, as always, unfolded in quiet signals and subtle changes in radiation levels. But the magnitude of this moment? Impossible to overstate. For the first time in history, an artifact of human civilization had escaped the gravity well of our star. Voyager had crossed into the space between the stars, a place untouched by sunlight, unshaped by planets, unseen by human eyes. This was the shift. Voyager 1 was no longer just a satellite. It was something else entirely. A messenger, a ghost ship from Earth adrift in the galactic sea. And here's the part that still sends chills down the spine. Voyager wasn't built to do this. The interstellar mission was a bold afterthought, a dream tacked on to a planetary tour. Its instruments were old, its computers ancient. It had less computing power than a modern digital watch. And yet, it made it. That moment changed not only Voyager's mission, but our collective imagination. We had touched Jupiter's storms, Saturn's rings, and now, the edge of the solar system. Our technological child had broken free of home. It was the farthest extension of human hands, eyes, and curiosity. But the shift wasn't just physical, it was philosophical. For decades, we thought of the solar system as our boundary, the cosmic fence around our backyard. Voyager proved that fence was illusion. Space is not a series of orbits. It's a continuum. There is no finish line, just thresholds. And Voyager had crossed one. The scientific community reacted with reverence and disbelief. Headlines marked the occasion. NASA scientists, some of whom had worked on the mission since the 1970s, wept openly. Carl Sagan, who had long passed by then, had predicted this moment. That one day, the tiny traveler would pierce the veil and drift into the dark. But there was a strange melancholy in it too. Because as Voyager moved farther away, communication became increasingly difficult. The Deep Space Network, the global array of massive satellite dishes used to talk to distant probes, had to listen more carefully than ever. Voyager's signal was so faint that it registered at about 1/10 of a billionth of a watt. It was like trying to hear a watch ticking from 1,000 miles away. And yet, it spoke. It told us about the interstellar medium, a place not entirely empty, filled with faint magnetic fields and wandering particles. Voyager revealed turbulence at the heliopause, bursts of plasma from solar storms echoing out like distant thunder. It was a whole new chapter of space exploration. Not about planets or moons, but about the space between. But the greatest shift wasn't in what we learned. It was in what we felt. Voyager 1 was alone now. Truly alone. There were no more flybys planned, no more planets ahead. Just cold, just time, just the endless drift into night. And still, it persisted. That resilience, that slow, quiet march forward, became a kind of symbol, In an age of instant gratification and shrinking attention spans, Voyager was a reminder of something else. Patience, endurance, the long view. A mission not bound by quarterly reports or social media trends, but by wonder. In that sense, the turning point wasn't just about Voyager. It was about us. How far are we willing to go to understand the universe? How long are we willing to wait for answers? What kind of future are we building when we send messages to stars we'll never reach? These are the questions that Voyager 1 raised by simply existing, not by exploding or arriving or conquering, but by continuing. It is, perhaps, the most human thing we've ever made. Not because it is advanced, but because it is hopeful. The turning point wasn't a loud moment. It was a quiet crossing, a moment when our reach exceeded not just our grasp, but our imagination. And Voyager 1 kept going. Voyager 1 is still out there. Over 15 billion miles from Earth, it drifts silently in a void colder than anything we can imagine. Its cameras have long since shut down. Its instruments slowly fall quiet, one by one. And yet, even now, it continues to speak. A faint heartbeat from the edge of forever. In a world that moves faster than ever, where technology becomes obsolete in months and attention spans flicker like candlelight, there's something hauntingly beautiful about that. Voyager 1 was launched in 1977. That same year, Apple released its second personal computer. Elvis Presley died. Star Wars was just a few months old. That was the world Voyager left behind. Rotary phones, Cold War tension, typewriters, disco. And somehow, this machine built in that era, with an 8-track tape recorder, a 70s-era radio, and no digital processing power, is still functioning, still sending data, still playing its part in the grand story of space exploration. What does it say about us? That our longest-lived explorer is an aging, half-deaf satellite coasting blind through the dark. Maybe it says that we are capable of building things that outlive us, ideas and machines with purpose beyond their time. Maybe it says that even in a universe ruled by entropy, we can still leave behind something meaningful. Or maybe it says we're still trying to understand our place in all of this. Because Voyager 1 isn't just a scientific instrument, it's a mirror. A reflection of what we value: curiosity, endurance, legacy. And at this moment in history, that matters more than ever. We live in a time of extraordinary acceleration. AI is rewriting the rules of creativity. Billionaires are launching rockets for sport. Satellites circle us in ever-growing swarms. There's talk of colonizing Mars, mining asteroids, building space hotels. We're sprinting toward the stars. But Voyager isn't sprinting. It's drifting. And maybe that's what makes it so compelling now. It's the antithesis of everything modern. It isn't flashy. It doesn't go viral. It doesn't update. It just keeps going, quietly, patiently, with purpose. That quiet endurance has become a kind of emotional anchor for many. In forums, comment sections, Reddit threads, people speak about Voyager in poetic terms, as if it's a grandparent we never met, or a distant friend we check in on from time to time. We track its distance from Earth like we're watching a loved one on a long road trip. We celebrate each data packet it sends back. We worry when communication falters. We cheer when engineers manage to fix it, like they did in 2022, when Voyager began sending corrupted data, and a team of NASA scientists, now several generations younger than the probe itself, managed to decode and correct the problem. That moment captured something powerful. Voyager is old. It's glitching. It's falling apart. And we're still trying to help it finish its mission. Isn't that profoundly human? We don't give up on what matters. We don't abandon what we've sent into the unknown. We reach across time and space to hold on. Scientifically, Voyager is still sending back valuable information. It's one of our only sources of direct data from interstellar space. Every signal it sends gives us a clearer picture of the environment beyond the sun's influence, the density of particles, the strength of magnetic fields, the rhythm of the galaxy itself. It's not glamorous. It's not headline-grabbing. But it's historic. Because no other mission has gone this far. No other mission can go this far, for now. We've launched newer probes, faster ships, better tech, but none are on a trajectory like Voyager's. It's unique. It's alone. And in that aloneness, there's something universal. We all know what it feels like to be drifting, to be far from home, to be unsure if our message is getting through. Voyager, in a way, is the embodiment of that. A machine broadcasting into darkness, not knowing who might be listening. And then there's the golden record. Still bolted to its side, still spinning through space, is a golden phonograph. Etched onto it, greetings in 55 languages, sounds of earth, rain, laughter, thunder, birdsong, music from Bach and Blind Willie Johnson, a child's voice saying hello, the brainwaves of a young woman in love. It's unlikely anyone will ever find it. Voyager won't pass near another star for 40,000 years. And yet we sent it anyway. We sent a message not to anyone in particular, but to the cosmos itself. That choice to say, "This is who we are," and fling it into the void, is perhaps the most hopeful act humanity has ever committed. Because hope isn't loud. It isn't always visible. Sometimes it's just a 45-year-old satellite, humming softly as it sails into darkness. Voyager 1 reminds us that space exploration isn't just about rockets or robots. It's about imagination, legacy, a willingness to ask questions that take decades or millennia to answer. It's about the long game. And in a world obsessed with the next big thing, that's a message worth hearing. Voyager doesn't make headlines often anymore. It isn't flashy like SpaceX, or emotional like the Mars rovers, or mysterious like black holes. But it represents something no other mission can. The farthest reach of human presence. The first thing we ever built to leave. That matters. Because someday, we'll lose contact. Its power will fade. The last instrument will fail. The last whisper will die in the static. But even then, it won't be gone. Voyager 1 will keep drifting, through starfields and interstellar winds, through silence and radiation. Long after Earth has changed, long after we're gone, a bottle floating through a galactic ocean, and maybe someday, something or someone will find it. Maybe they'll listen. Maybe they'll wonder who we were, or maybe not. But either way, we tried. We sent something. And that, in itself, is enough. Voyager 1 isn't just a satellite. It's a message in a bottle. And we are the message. We often think of Voyager 1 as a triumph of science. And it is. It represents our greatest achievements in engineering, physics, and astronomy. But the deeper truth? Voyager is not just a scientific instrument. It's a philosophical artifact. It doesn't just explore space, it explores us. When we talk about Voyager, we talk about distances. billions of miles, light hours away, past the heliopause. But maybe the more interesting journey isn't physical at all. It's existential. What does it mean for a species to send a voice into the darkness, not knowing if anyone will ever hear it? Why do we need to be heard in the first place? The golden record is a literal message in a bottle. But metaphorically, Voyager itself is one. A message not just to aliens, but to ourselves. It says, we were here. We existed. We dreamed big enough to launch something beyond the sky. We were curious. We were flawed. But we reached. And this reaching, this desire to extend beyond, might be the most human thing of all. Think about it. Voyager 1 was launched before most of the people alive today were even born. It left Earth in a time of analog signals, Cold War tension, and tube televisions. And yet, its story still stirs something in people who've never known a world without the internet. Why? Because Voyager speaks to something timeless. Not speed, not conquest, but wonder, slowness, patience, faith. In fact, here's the twist. The counterintuitive insight. Voyager 1 might be one of the last slow things we ever sent out. In an era of real-time updates and instant gratification, Voyager travels at a pace we can't even feel. It doesn't chase fame or feedback. It doesn't check analytics. It just moves. It's a relic of an era where exploration wasn't about monetization or social media clout. It was about something much quieter, a kind of sacred curiosity. Voyager 1 reminds us that not all missions are about arriving. Some are about continuing, about endurance, about trusting that the journey itself is meaningful, even if no one ever sees the destination. That's rare now. And maybe that's why Voyager matters more than ever. It's a symbol of long-term thinking in a short-term world. And here's another layer most people miss. Voyager is the only human-made object in interstellar space. It is, right now, the most isolated piece of us in the universe. Think about that. Everything else we've made, every city, every satellite, every rover, is still orbiting a star. Voyager is not. It's out there in the void between stars. It's not just far, it's outside. That means, for the first time in the history of Earth, something we created has fully, permanently left our solar system. Not metaphorically, not theoretically, physically. It's crossed a line we can't uncross. And yet, even as it drifts into that cosmic silence, Voyager is still broadcasting, still saying, I'm here. Isn't that a strange kind of bravery? We made a machine that can't be updated, can't be repaired, and launched it into a place no one could ever reach. And we told it to keep speaking anyway. It's like whispering a lullaby into the wind and believing that the wind remembers. But there's a paradox here too. One that gives this story its emotional depth. Voyager 1 was built to last a few years. It has lasted nearly 5 decades. Yet the closer it gets to the stars, the less we hear from it. Its signal is weaker now. Its instruments are fading. Someday soon, its tiny voice will stop altogether. And here's the part that most people don't expect. That silence will be its most profound message. Because Voyager doesn't need to be heard forever to matter. It only needed to be sent. That's the unexpected angle. In a world obsessed with outcomes, with being seen, liked, retweeted, remembered, Voyager offers a different kind of meaning, the kind that comes from the act of expression itself. Not because someone's listening, but because you chose to speak. It's the same logic behind art, behind letters never sent, behind love that's never returned. It's not always about what comes back. It's about the fact that you reached in the first place. Voyager is a monument to that reaching. And it's not just NASA's mission anymore. It belongs to all of us. People name their pets after it. They tattoo its trajectory on their skin. They write poems about it, compose music, make art. It's become a cultural icon. Not because of what it does, but because of what it means. And what it means is this. You don't have to be fast to matter. You don't have to be seen to be important. You don't have to arrive to make a difference. Sometimes, just going is enough. Voyager 1 is the quietest rebellion in space. A slow, analog satellite, still speaking across billions of miles. Not for glory, not for praise, but because it was made to explore. And that quiet resolve, that soft, persistent presence, might be the most radical thing of all. Sometimes I imagine Voyager 1 floating out there alone, past the planets, beyond the pull of the sun, deeper than we can ever truly picture. And when I do, something happens inside me. It's not fear, not sadness. It's something closer to stillness, like hearing a distant echo of your own thoughts spoken back to you by the stars. Because Voyager isn't just a spacecraft. It's a metaphor for us. For being human, we live short lives on a tiny blue dot, spinning quietly in the corner of one galaxy among billions. And yet, somehow, we dared to send a piece of ourselves into the cosmos, not to claim territory, not to conquer, but to simply say we exist. That is extraordinary. And maybe it's why the story of Voyager 1 feels more personal than technical, more like a memory than a mission. For me, Voyager taps into something that has nothing to do with science, and everything to do with longing. Longing to be understood, to be remembered, to matter. Because at some level, we all want what Voyager wants, to be seen, to be heard, to keep going even when no one's watching. When you think about the golden record, that delicate copper disc tucked inside the satellite, engraved with music and laughter and greetings in 55 languages, it's almost unbearably human. It's a message from one fragile species to whoever or whatever might find it. 1 billion years from now. We didn't just send facts, we sent feelings. We sent art, we sent a heartbeat. That tells you everything. Voyager 1 is our cosmic love letter, addressed to the unknown. But here's what hits hardest. It wasn't created to last forever, and it won't. Its batteries are dying. Its instruments are shutting down. Its voice is thinning into silence. Sometime in the next few years, Voyager 1 will stop speaking to us. The last signal will flicker out, and that will be it. No ceremony, no grand finale, just quiet. And yet, that moment won't feel like an end. It'll feel like a beginning, because Voyager will keep moving, quietly, patiently, into interstellar space, through the dark between stars, for millions, maybe billions, of years. Long after the Earth has changed, long after our cities have crumbled, long after our languages have faded, Voyager 1 will still be out there. And that thought brings me peace, because it means that something we made, something small and beautiful, will outlive everything we know. And I find comfort in that. It means we were here. It means that somewhere, far beyond the reach of our own understanding, there's a piece of us still floating forward. Not for attention, not for applause, but because we sent it. And when I look up at the stars now, even when I can't see it, even when I know it's just a dot against the infinite black, I think of Voyager 1. I think about that little satellite, powered by curiosity and sunlight and hope, moving further from home with every second, never turning back. And it reminds me of something simple, that maybe we're all Voyagers, each of us in our own way, sending messages into the dark, hoping someone, somewhere, hears us. We reach out through art, through love, through words, through music, through the quiet moments when we sit beside someone and say nothing at all, but still say everything. We're all trying to leave something behind that says, I was here. I meant something. And in that way, Voyager 1 is not alone. It's us. The part of us that dreams without guarantee, that speaks even without reply, that believes there's value in the journey even when no one's watching. So, as its signal grows fainter, and its systems go dark, and it drifts into a silence deeper than we can comprehend, I don't mourn that. I celebrate it. Because Voyager 1 isn't dying. It's becoming a myth, the kind we pass down, the kind that reminds us not of how far we've gone, but of how deeply we feel, and how brave it is, in a universe this vast, to simply say, I'm still here, I'm still going, I still believe in the light ahead.